Joseph and Lukash, because it's me talking to just you two, notwithstanding the fact that you can fill up the chat box as much as you like. If you have any questions as we bounce along, you might as well ask me, because it's not like we're going to be bombarded or swamped with hundreds of people coming through. So I don't know if we've met before, but I am the SME for cybersecurity now. So I've taken over the mantle of being the subject matter expert for the cybersecurity apprenticeships here at Firebrand. I'm also dual-hatted, in fact. So I'm also an instructor with Firebrand as well. I'm kind of a little bit of an oddball, I suppose, really, from the business side of things, because I've got a foot in both sides of the commercial business and the apprenticeship business here at Firebrand. From the instructor side of things, I instruct mostly now cybersecurity kind of courses. This includes the apprenticeships. It includes our commercial offerings pretty much across the track. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer and a CompTIA trainer, EC Council trainer as well. But I kind of keep my portfolio relatively small, looking at things such as infrastructure and infrastructure security. And feel free to find me on LinkedIn. Lukash, I think we met.
Yes, I've done. You led some courses which I was taking for my apprenticeship. So yeah,
fantastic. Yeah. So so welcome. And so what I'm going to do with you today is we're going to have a quick sort of whistle-stop tour across the two new standards, and these are brand new. So the level 3 cybersecurity technician and the level 4 cybersecurity technologist. We'll have a look at them sort of side by side as to what the actual roles are that these are going to encompass and the core duties, I suppose, really for each of the standards. Then we'll have a look at the way that Firebrand is going to deliver these. So we'll have a look at the Firebrand track, or the snake, as we call it, the journey that we will go through for both the level 3 and the level 4. And a quick overview of the endpoint assessment, or the EPA, which again has changed. So the two new standards are fresh. In fact, they got government sign off very, very recently, which is why we've been holding back on these sprints, in fact, to sort of go public with them. However, I was brought on board just before Christmas last year onto the apprenticeship team to start designing and implementing the new standards, because even though we knew that we were going to sort of invariably come on board sort of around about this time, they're a bit late, in fact, because the UK government have obviously been busy elsewhere. We invariably put our package together fairly quickly. And what I'm seeing from other conversations and meetings that I'm attending from the apprenticeship side of things is that Firebrand effectively is in pretty much in pole position with what we've got and the package that we put together. Now, again, as a kind of a point of who I am, because I have a firm foot, I suppose, really, both from the industry side of things and, of course, from the instructional side of things. When I was tasked to put these things together, the courses and the component parts that I've layered into this, as we've gone through the development process, has been sort of that 3-pronged attack, I suppose, really. So looking at the standard themselves, mapping that to, if you like, off-the-shelf credentials that are already in place. So we're going to be using industry recognized certification through our track, but also kind of melding this into the bespoke courses that we can offer at Firebrand as well. So the kind of training packages that we put together. And Lukash, you'll be familiar with some of these invariably through the track that you've gone through as well. But you'll see, invariably, you'll see that things have changed a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll kick off with a quick look at what a level 3 cybersecurity technician involves. And so what I've done here is I've actually kind of plagiarized, is that the right word? I've copied and pasted from the iFate website, which is now as up to date as it can be. Again, this was, if you'd been there a couple of weeks ago, you would have noticed that the new standards were not quite ready. And the reason why I've done this is invariably it gives us the typical job titles. And again, these I would kind of take with a pinch of salt a little bit, in the fact of if your organization can't match these job titles, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that you can't have a level 3 cybersecurity technician come on board. because a title is exactly what it is. It's just a label that you give to an occupational standard within your organization. So these are subject to change, of course. The key point here, I suppose, really, the thing that cuts across this at level 3 is that at level 3, we're talking about advanced level. So we're talking about A level or HNC level education, if you want to make that comparison. But the word junior really kind of fits this. So we're not talking about somebody who's invariably going to step up into, well, eventually they will do, of course, but we're not talking about somebody at the end of the 16 months they're with us, that they will be fitting into a management role or invariably any kind of senior lead on anything, but hopefully that would be the project for them coming on board. There are 18 occupational duties assigned to this standard, and I'll give you an example of those. I'll show you what those are. What I won't do is go through the 30 different knowledge areas and the 22 core skills and the 7 behaviors that we would expect from them. And these collectively form something called the KSBs, or the knowledge, skills, behaviors, that map to the standard. And if you've been on an apprenticeship program, in fact, Lucas, you'll be very familiar with the concept of these and how everything invariably must come down to the fact that you have to provide evidence or training to map to the KSBs. For this one, there are 3 assessment methods, or AMs, for the endpoint assessment. And for our standard, we're talking about the duration here is 16 months. So it says 18 months on the iFight website. And we invariably do things a little bit quicker because that's our USP at Firebrand. What I'll do is I'll talk to you about the level 4 side of things. But here also, worthy of note, is that when it comes to the professional recognition side of things, and this kind of goes under the radar a little bit, it's particularly fantastic, I have to say, for the level 3 cybersecurity technician, is the kind of the fistful of credentials that you get upon completion. So not only do you get the accolade of being a level 3 cybersecurity technician apprentice, you also become an affiliate member of BCS and CSEC as well. So the Chartered Institute of Information Security, which is great. And these are letters that you can put after your name. And again, nothing again. RETEC again is another great registration for technical competency. All great letters have after your name, but also great resources for anybody at all. In fact, not just for our junior apprentices, but for all of us really involved within cyber. And so, as an aside from this, if you've not met these organizations or any kind of affiliation with them, CSEC in particular, I can recommend to you. It's a great organization to get on board with. But aside from that, this is almost like giving you as the standards for level 3. Now, layer in over the top of that as well that we're also going to be focusing on now vendor certificates and qualifications through all of our standards as well. An apprentice with Firebrand is going to come out effectively with a fistful of dollars in the form of certificates and credentials. Lucas,
I wish I've done it now. Yeah, I didn't get any of that. I mean, I'll probably, I'm still on it, as a matter of fact, because there was some delays. But yeah, I see that the level 3 is already quite fruitful.
Yeah,
as you leave. So yeah, I mean, it looks very good.
Although you will get. So, what standard are you on, Lucas, at the moment?
I am the level 4 cybersecurity analyst, which is not available anymore.
No,
I think.
No, it's merged. Okay, so, but you are still able to get the RETEC, RIT Tech, and the BCS affiliation.
Okay, I've done the CSEC yesterday, as a matter of fact. So I've applied for this. So excellent. Yeah. So how can I apply for the RITech?
You should. Have you completed your apprenticeship?
Well, almost. So I've completed it. Okay.
So at that point of when almost becomes to completed, there will be a form for you to fill in. It will be given to you effectively upon successful completion of that. So watch out for it. Okay.
Right. Thanks.
Speak to your learning mentor about it and they can put you in the right direction. Happy with that?
Thank you.
Very good. And then level 4, which is Lucas, is just finishing one of those off. And this is where he's now going to really wish that he had waited a little bit longer. So this is the Cybersecurity Technologist 2021. So the badge is different by virtue of the fact that this is brand spanking new. Although I say with a big smile on my face that you possibly are going to do very well anyway, Lukasz. This one is tough. Okay, from an apprenticeship point of view, Lukasz will probably say, well, it's tough enough as it is already, Phil. But for this standard, we are talking about 2 years. So this is a 24-month apprenticeship with us, as it is with probably every learning provider. And so we are now looking at somebody who's coming in that could quite easily, at the end of those 2 years, call themselves a risk analyst, intelligence researcher, security analyst, and so on and so forth. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, sort of potentially saying security architect here, because I would probably suggest that needs a degree more experience and time in post before those kind of labels can be given to anybody. But once again, it's just a label for the job titles that you may use across your organizations. And what's happened now, as Lukasz has kind of alluded to, is the fact that we have a single standard, which is a cybersecurity technologist, and 3 separate flavors that fall out of this, which are the security engineer, the risk analyst, which is familiar territory for you, Lukasz, and defend and respond. And again, I'll kind of break these down a little bit. And within here, there are now 11 core duties that, regardless of which flavor you're going to go into, which track you're going into, that underpins all of it. Okay, so there are 11 key duties, I suppose, really, that you must submit to within the organization. And then depending upon the option that you are taking, which role that you're going to take on will depend upon the optional duties that you must commit to throughout the apprenticeship. So, and again, as you can see there, there's a fistful of knowledge and skills that also come into play. So 17 knowledge areas, 30 core skills, and 10 behaviors. And those make the KSPs. And you can see here, and this hasn't changed, Lukasz, either. So this is relevant to your level 4 cybersecurity intrusion analyst as specification as well, that you will be qualified for the RETEC level 4 upon completion, and that happens automatically for you. Unfortunately, not CSEC. So, but if you've joined them as an affiliate member, then brilliant. I don't think it costs too much either to come over to that anyway. So
£80, I think. Yeah.
Okay. You will probably get that back as soon as you start attending conferences and sitting on all of the great speakers and things that they do. It's really great.
So this one doesn't say what degree the level 4 gets after all.
Doesn't say what, so which degree?
Degree, yeah. The BCS degree, because obviously after level 3 you get the MBCS.
Yes. So so here it would be the same.
Okay.
So it would be the same. Yeah, that's the standard. If the BCS is going to be the endpoint assessor, then it would be the same degree that you would get effectively. Does that make sense? Because the BCS might not necessarily be the endpoint assessment organization. Depends on the organization.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If we take a closer look at the level 3, the duties that we're looking at here, remember that there are 18 core duties. I'm not going to read all of these out to you. You can get, if you need more depth and detail from these are up on the IFATE website. So you can drill into those, but there's kind of plenty of scope here, I suppose, really. And the thing I like about the level 3 is that it kind of maps very much, I suppose, really to the analyst side of life, really. So we're looking at a lot here. A couple of kind of key areas to focus in here would be things such as standards, laws, regulations, and standards are key areas within this particular standard. And I like that because it's reflective, I suppose, really of life within cybersecurity at this moment in time, especially if you're getting a first footing within the world of cybersecurity. Also within here, you can see that you're assisting, contributing, are kind of key words that come out of these duties rather than actually being the person that's responsible for creating a policy or doing a risk assessment and so on and so forth. So you're very much part of a team within here, but you are contributing. You are actually having to do something within that team rather than just sort of sitting on the periphery, looking over someone's shoulder as they're doing it. So, and that's a key thing that needs to be supported through this, through these standards throughout, is the fact that the apprentice, of course, has to do it, because they will invariably need to provide evidence of that. What we lovingly create here, in fact, Phoebe's team is responsible for this, is something called a snake, which is the path that is taken from point A to point B effectively through the 16 months that they're on program with us, starting off from the first day of learning, ultimately, all the way through, of course, to the end of the endpoint assessment. Now, again, this is a little bit convoluted. It's a lovely graphic that details quite nicely the steps that take into consideration for the level 3. And if I kind of strip this out into the bare bones of what the learning experience would be, for example, for the level 3, we have focused primarily within the BCS for the key skills, I suppose, really, and knowledge areas that we're going to go for. All of these courses within here are bespoke Firebrand courses as well. So the Security Fundamentals course is an amalgamation, effectively, of 3 BCS knowledge modules. And the delegate for us will get a chance to take one of the knowledge modules, in fact, KM1, which is the Cybersecurity Fundamentals. So they will also get the BCS accreditation for that particular exam, which is the Certificate in Cybersecurity Introduction, at month 3, or at some point within the first 3 months of them coming on board. And that gives them a good stepping stone for the other elements, I suppose, really, that are coming into their apprenticeship. Cryptography is another big one for us as well. So once again, this is a bespoke 3-day course that we put together and is kind of picked from a whole load of different industry recognized courses that gives them the Certificate of Employment of Cryptography. That's a super awesome course. In fact, I say that because I wrote it.
You drive it.
And I also deliver it.
Yeah.
And so
I love it. I loved it anyway. Yeah.
Oh,
so.
did you? Fantastic. So, and I also have fans out there. Lukesh, thank you very much indeed. I'll pay you later. And then right at the very end of the track, we go for the CISMP. So this is, once again, this is a bespoke Firebrand course that fits in very, very nicely with the information security management principles from the BCS. So it follows their syllabus, but we've also layered in some extra modules within our course that also goes into some of the operational security side of things, a little bit of DevOps in there as well. So it gives you a more kind of a rounded flavor, I suppose, really, from the world of cybersecurity from that foundation point of view. But also I'd say that CISMP is a very weighty credential as well. So at the end of this process with us, you will have built up a series of different BCS certificates and also the CISMP credential. These are optional, but they're built into the program. So all of the exams, all of the funding is there for our delegates to take these as part of the course that they do with us, but they don't need to pass them in order to pass the apprenticeship. So that's a kind of a key difference, I suppose, really, from the old way of the BCS modules needed to be passed. These days they don't. Okay, but throughout the process, however, the apprentice, just like the good old days, had to create a portfolio of evidence, which is part of the endpoint assessment. So here for the level 3, there are 3 assessment methods that the delegate will need to complete within the last 3 months, ultimately, when they enter Gateway. And these are the scenario demonstrations with questioning, which they will have 4 different scenarios that they will need to complete. So this is physically doing something which is being monitored. And then there will be a series of questions. So they've got 75 minutes to complete a particular task. And then they can be asked up to 5 questions on why they did this, how did they do this, so on and so forth. And then there's the professional discussion underpinned by the portfolio that they've created through the 13 months prior to coming into Gateway. And so that's a 60-minute interview with up to 10 questions based on the kind of key areas that were covered in the jobs, effectively, the tasks that were completed throughout the apprenticeship. And again, that's quite a tough challenge. And then if that's not enough, there's also a 40-question multiple choice knowledge test, which kind of mops up the kind of areas, the key knowledge areas that are not covered by the scenario and the portfolio. And again, that's would round off the delegate quite nicely, ultimately, within that. Quite challenging, especially within the time constraints. But all the way through the process, support is given all the way through EPA. In fact, support is still given as well. So that's level 3. Moving up into level 4. Once again, I'm not going to go through all of the duties with you, but you can see here there appear to be less duties. And remember, these are the core duties that regardless of whether you're an engineer, risk analyst, or a defender, you would need to be showing that this is what you're doing as part of your core occupational duties within whichever role that you are that you're employed in. And so once again, you can see here that we're now talking about managing things and doing things autonomously. So you actually take control of these situations. So you are developing security policies, for example, and you're keeping up with current trends in threats and vulnerabilities and so on and so forth. There are a couple of oddballs in here, admittedly. I kind of like them, even though they are a little bit odd and unusual. And things like scripting has now come into the fray, and also participating in cyber war gaming and things. So if you're doing red team scenarios and all of those kind of situations, which most people do participate in from a cyber point of view, or they kind of get led down into those areas. Now it's actually put into the standard. So that might be a difficult challenge within an organization, but we can be quite creative ultimately with the support that we can give in the way that we can meet those kind of challenges. And remember, those are the core duties for a level 4. And then depending upon which flavor you are going to go into, we'll then layer in the other duties that you will need to meet. So you can see here that engineer, risk analyst, and defender. And they kind of make sense, really. So it all kind of fits in with what a proper job spec and role would be. And you can see also, which equally makes sense to me, is the fact that there's a bit of crossover in some areas between what an engineer and a risk analyst and an engineer and a cyber defender would need to be considering as well. And that it all makes sense to me, which is a breath of fresh air. And so because it makes sense to me, it also hopefully means that when I was putting together the snake or the path from point A to point B, the training provision in here also kind of made sense and dovetailed in with the progression and the development of somebody who's going to become a cybersecurity technologist, regardless of whichever flavor that they come out through. They will all do exactly the same training path. So no longer will we split off into separate knowledge modules if you're an intrusion analyst, or separate modules if you're a risk analyst, or separate modules if you're a cyber engineer. Everybody does the same training because it encompasses every single aspect of the knowledge, skills, behaviors that they will need. Makes it a lot easier to manage, and it also means that from the apprenticeship side of things, that the cohorts themselves start to gel and bond a little bit, because invariably what they'll do is they'll meet up with people from other industries, from other areas of the apprenticeship, and so on and so forth. And that's all part of the fun, should I say, or part of the experience of the apprenticeship program. And so if I break this down into its respective component parts, we've got the first 3 months really where we're looking at networking fundamentals. And this is going to then be underpinned, once again, built into the course is going to be the CompTIA Network Plus. Again, that's a great credential to start off with. And you can see as we go through this, in fact, that we've also layered in Security Plus between months 9 to 12. So you kind of build up from your networking competencies into the security side of things. And as the interim within there as well, to make sure that we've got a sort of a jumping post, if you'd like, to get you up to Security Plus, we've also then layered in some cybersecurity introduction and operating system security, which is once again is an amalgamation of 2 of the old BCS knowledge modules that have come together, and we've called that the App Cyber I, so Cyber Introduction course. That's a 3-day course at Firebrand, which focuses very much on the BCS syllabus. And once again, the delegates there will get the opportunity to take the BCS certificate in cybersecurity introduction, which is the old KM1, if you're familiar with that. There is, once again, there is no requirement for any apprentice to pass these. So it's not part of the apprenticeship. You don't need to get the tick in the box to say, yes, I have passed Network Plus. Yes, I have passed the App Cyber I or Security Plus and so on. But as the exam vouchers and everything is included within our track, the apprentices themselves are going to be highly encouraged, both from the organizational side of things, and of course from the training side of things, to take these, and they will be given every single support mechanism that we have to make sure that they can complete this and also get the credential at the end of it. However long it takes, it doesn't make any difference. We've also then layered in here a Python course as well. So we've taken the scripting side of things and we've focused in on Python. This will be a 4-day Python foundation course. And invariably, I chose Python because it's everywhere. It's also a great scripting language to cut your teeth on if this is going to be a new venture for you, because the syntax and the way that it works also is something that's kind of almost like transferable skills across to other basic core scripting languages that you may come across. It doesn't really matter what your organization is using here, however, when we need to show evidence of you being able to script or code, whether it's Python or whether it's PowerShell or whether it's Bash, it doesn't make a difference, or C# or whatever it is that you're using. It doesn't make any difference, but Python is the one that we will be training our delegates up into. And then right at the very end, we are going for the relatively lofty credential of the EC Council Certified Network Defender, which the version 2 now covers 20 different modules, which, to be honest with you, cover most of the core knowledge and skills that you need to complete your apprenticeship. It's a tough test. It's a tough course. 4 days at Firebrand is what that will take you. And once again, underpinned by a whole load of pre-learning and post-learning experience as well. So the delegates, again, will get the certificate. They'll get all of the courseware, all of the EC Council courseware to do this. And again, Firebrand are in quite a good position because we've got very, very good relationships with our vendors, with Microsoft and EC Council and CompTIA, for example. So we're able to support this pretty much throughout using official courseware, official certificates. That then takes the apprentice into Gateway. And here you can see there's 4 assessment methods. This is a tough challenge. So we're now talking about professional discussion with portfolio that's created once again throughout the apprenticeship, scenario demonstrations with questioning. Again, so this is going to be 4 practical elements across all areas that they will need to demonstrate effective competency on, and then they'll be questioned on that. A project report, which is agreed before they come into Gateway, and this would be a 2,000-word report based on a project that the apprentice will have undertaken through effectively endpoint assessment, but in liaison with the organization that's supporting the apprentice going through. So it's a properly regulated and coordinated project that they are putting together. And then if that's not enough, any knowledge areas that need to be mopped up will be then added to the 40-question multiple choice knowledge test. So that's quite a challenge for anybody at any level. But the end result of this, of course, is a totally awesome apprenticeship, level 4, which invariably takes you up to first year. In fact, our course takes you up to the first year and a half of a degree. So going up into level 6 standard as well. And as an aside, Firebrand is also working towards supplying level 6 degree integrated apprenticeships as well in cybersecurity. So that's for the future.
I was about to ask about this one because obviously I'm finishing this one, and there was some rumors going that there will be the level 6 coming up. Is there anything clearer or like a fixed date where anything will be known about it, or is it still?
You could. There's a big smile on my face because I am developing this as we speak, Lukasz, and so yes is the answer. We don't have any kind of clear direction that I can give you on this call, but watch this space is all I'm going to say, and just keep in touch.
Okay. Yeah, I will do, because obviously through the what's it called, the platform. God, my brain. Sorry, I've been on Linux course with course with Firebrand for 3 days this week, and my brain is still there.
But the reality is that it is coming, and it'll probably be sooner rather than later. Okay, that we're working on this, but unfortunately, I can't give you any detail because it is still very much in development, but it will happen. It will happen, and we've obviously got a very firm eye on the fact that it will follow on from our level 4 cybersecurity technologist submissions. So there should be a natural progression going from one to the other. So going up into level 5 and level 6. Okay,
Yeah, that looks interesting.
Yeah,
because we can start at level 3, then we can do level 4. So we can start really junior, and then we can get really senior with it. So yeah,
it makes perfect sense, doesn't it, to follow that kind of track. So
yeah.
So very good. All the way through, hopefully, as Lucas will support me on, is the fact that you are supported throughout the whole journey, just like every apprenticeship, really. So as a training provider, the learner, the apprentice, is obviously central to all of this. The most important part of the whole experience is the apprentice that sits in the middle of all of this. But there are several layers of support that are put into place, both within the working environment. So there would be the support that would come from an appointed workplace mentor, your learning mentor, if you like, on the inside of your network, who liaises and works very closely with the Firebrand learning mentor, who works within the subject area of that particular apprentice. So in this case, we're talking about a cybersecurity learning mentor, and no longer representative geographical location. In fact, that's kind of one of the spin-offs really from the COVID side of things, from the fact that we've all been forced to go into remote assistance, if you like, or remote working here. Our cybersecurity learning mentor can now support people, regardless of where you are on the planet, which is great. There is also obviously the options when things start to reduce a little bit from COVID, that face-to-face meetings are also available as well. And that's also true from the learning perspective as well. So your Firebrand instructor, who's in this fray as well. And the learning provision is invariably, our central point is at Y Boston Lakes, which is sort of on the Bedfordshire-Cambridgeshire border, close to St Neots in Cambridgeshire. And that's our in-house training. Everything is provided, 24/7 training if you require it, food and accommodation from a dedicated hotel and dedicated training facility, which is totally awesome. It also gives the apprenticeship delegates the ability to mix and socialize with other apprentices, and also from other walks of life as well. And our courses are going to be commercial courses. So these, even though the majority of certainly the level 3 are going to be apprenticeship focused, apart from the CISMP, the apprentices may find themselves actually sitting next to a commercial delegate who is from a different part of industry. And that enriches the whole learning experience, because you may come from one particular kind of element in industry, so from the financial sector, and to sit next to somebody from the defense sector or from NHS or wherever your line of business is super awesome. And some relationships are formed through that. Okay, and it's a great way of training. There is also the Firebrand administration team, and there's a whole host of different people that provide all different types of support and guidance throughout this process. And then you've got people like me. So I'm the subject matter expert for cybersecurity. I'd like to say that I sit very much in the background, but I don't. And none of our SMEs, in fact, sit anywhere near the background of this. We're very much at the coal front, very much at the coal face, supporting the apprentices, supporting the learning mentors, supporting the businesses that we supply our apprentices to, or supply the training to. And it's a key part of my role is to make sure that I'm very proactive in that support mechanism. So we're not just sitting in the background lauding it under the badge of being an SME, which I dislike the title, but there it is. We are very, very interactive with our delegates in whatever support they need. So we can provide one-to-one training, for example, for sort of knowledge areas that are missing or just need a bit of bolstering before EPA, for example. EPA guidance is in there as well, and general sort of guidance and support at any kind of level. And it all melds together as well. And your Firebrand instructor as well. These are unique individuals, I have to say, who also work beyond 9 to 5 within a classroom environment to support our delegates both in the classroom and outside of the classroom in exactly the same way, effectively, that an SME would, because these are industry experts in their particular fields as well that we employ. And these can either be our in-house instructor fleet or our freelance instructors that are invariably contractors that are working in industry and also have training as a second bow to their string, or second string to the bow, I should say. Happy with all that. So when it comes to the training provider support as well, we also have pre-learning, I suppose, really, for want of a better term here, where we're talking about providing the delegate with a whole series of different e-learning facilities. So this might be Pluralsight, it might be CertMaster, it might be stuff that we've created ourselves, so bespoke video and audio content that we put into place. Practice tests and mock exams are throughout as well. And that also will include online labs as well, because most of these apprenticeships are very practical in their orientation. So it needs to make sure that we can also supply hands-on labs as we go through. As I mentioned before, people like me, the SMEs, can also provide one-to-one masterclasses in any particular area that we are the SMEs for. And it also means, of course, because we have half a dozen or so SMEs across different areas, that if it's a networking thing, we can get our networking SME in. If it's a security thing, if it's a data thing, then we can get the different SMEs in play to start supporting our apprentices across the field. Okay, so I'm quite lucky, I suppose, really, in the fact that I also do networking and infrastructure. So from time to time, not that I do it very often these days, but from time to time, I also support the network engineering side of things by coming in and talking about all things networky, which is lovely. We also support our delegates as they go through the process of creating projects and portfolio submissions. And again, there's a tiered system here, but where the delegate themselves will then submit their profile or the project. It effectively gets assessed by the learning mentor and if they need the assistance of the SME is then brought on board as well. And then we have a quality assessor who effectively maps it against the standard to make sure that it fits within the criteria, within the portfolio criteria that's required for that particular project or for that particular profile to go forwards. And once that's done, it's kind of all signed, sealed, and delivered, and the apprentice can then go on to the next project. And then by the time that we get to Gateway, the portfolio is pretty much in the right order and also maps to all of the standards that are required. And that makes it a lot easier when the apprentice themselves goes into the interview situation, so the professional discussion, because they should be confident in the fact that their submissions are strong. Okay, they should also be obviously know what the contents are, because they're going to be asked questions about it, and we can prepare them as they go through that gateway process. And that's exactly what I'm doing next week. So that's it, in fact. So I think that's pretty good timing for it. I know that it's probably quite a lot there. Like I said, I'd kind of recommend the iFate website to you for a little bit more depth and detail on the standards, which are now live. Lukasz, thanks very much for you chipping in with your comments as you go through.
Thank you for the presentation.
Good luck with your end of apprenticeship. Keep in touch as we go through. Joseph, was there anything that you would like to, and Lukasz, if you've got any questions, I'm quite happy for you to open your mic and talk to me, unless you've been typing at Phoebe.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you. Just give me a clarity because I'm trying to build teams and onboard some a team of apprenticeships programs within the organization as well. So I just wanted to have an understanding of what this program looks like. I have a slightly different question as well, because you're into security, and I think if I remember correctly, you helped with the sprint session for the Microsoft certified security compliance and identify.
I did, yes. The SC900,
Yeah,
that was me.
SC900, yes, yeah. So I'm also encouraging my teams to attend some of the programs, and as I'm building some center of excellence function within the organization, What I figured out was there is a Microsoft online program, which is a free program that Microsoft offers for SC900.
Yeah.
So, how different is the Sprint program from that? Because if someone wants to spend £300, if I need to approve that cost, so what would be the value add for the attendees on that program?
So two things. The first thing is that the Microsoft Learn content is super awesome. It is really, really great, and probably would be a good precursor to coming on the Sprint. The Sprint itself will give you, obviously, that is not going to be the Microsoft official courseware that we would use on the Sprint. So the Sprint itself will take those 4 modules and then strip it into the official courseware as it is, which is updated probably more often than the online version of the Microsoft Learn stuff. But it's a good precursor. I've looked at both, in fact. So when I completed my SC900, I first and foremost took a look at the Microsoft Learn stuff, and I completed that over a series of days. And then I took a look at the mock and saw the kind of the differences, I suppose, really in the depth of detail that the Microsoft official courseware goes into. Of course, the other thing that you find with doing, I love the Microsoft Learn sites, no problems at all, is that you simply can't ask it questions. And you'll probably find that by the time that you've gone through all of the hyperlinks that will give you the depth and detail, which are all layered in to the Microsoft Learn side of things, you can ultimately spend several weeks actually doing the right kind of level of training to pass the SC900 exam, which is what everybody's dream is to do. Whereas if you come on and do the Microsoft Sprint, for example, you can directly ask the instructor the questions that you need to ask. And there are some interactive elements to the Microsoft Learn side of things, but invariably what you'll do is you're following a little video where it tells you to click here and click here and click here, which has very little understanding from a practical side of things about what are you actually completing just by following an automated narrated voice telling you to click on several links. However, when you've got an instructor who's now demonstrating things in front of you, warts and all, every single tick, you can obviously then stop them and say, what does that do? What happens if I do this? And you can also follow along as well. So you can get for the SC900, for example, you can get an Azure temporary Azure license, for example, to follow along as you go through. And also, you've got the exam certificate, the exam voucher is included in that as well. And there's no better way, I suppose, really, of getting somebody over the hurdle of being certified by layering in the fact that here's your exam, and by the end of the month, we want you to have registered online and taken an exam, because it focuses people. So our kind of the T-shirt, I suppose, really, that we wear at Firebrand is that you're immersed within it. So you are pretty much on point for 10 hours, I think, isn't it? The sprint lasts for 10 hours. You've got your total immersion in the fact that you've covered everything that you would invariably cover over several weeks on the Microsoft Learn course in 10 hours. You've also then got, obviously that then accelerates the process for you. So there's your immersion, your acceleration. And then you've got the measure by virtue of the fact that you would then be comfortable and confident take the exam, and the exam voucher is included in the sprint delivery. So you've got everything you need in a package there to complete that SC900. And that's pretty much the same with all of those sprints that Firebrand do. That's the model, really.
So it's not the I completely acknowledge that interaction, so that would really help. And on top of it, you're also saying it's not the same content. The content is, you've just taken the 4 modules and you have a different content for that.
Yes, yeah. So the mock is different to the. I mean, it's the same. It's the same content. Obviously, there's no variation on the theme of what the SC900 is all about. They kind of haven't completely regurgitated the course from what you'd see on Microsoft Learn. In fact, it follows the same 4 core modules, in fact, for that SC900. But you will see the difference between there's a difference between what the mock, so the PowerPoint and the delivery and the labs invariably that will be demonstrated through that will be different to what's on the Microsoft Learn site. Yes, but ultimately it's the same subject areas, I suppose, represented in a slightly different way.
Is there any practice exam sessions as part of that 9-hour, 10-hour training?
There aren't at the moment, because normally what we have is a measure up that's included within that. And I don't think they're live at the moment. To be honest, Joseph, I haven't looked at that recently to see whether or not measure ups are ready, but we generally find that they're a good couple of months behind the curve when it comes to supporting brand new Microsoft credentials coming out. There are a few little, I think on the Microsoft Learn, there are a few little sort of end of module pop quiz type thing, which are okay, but nowhere near what the exam is going to do for you. So at this moment in time, I don't think there are any supporting tests from a measure up point of view. And it would only be measure up that we would advocate, of course, as being the quality exams that and once again, we'd layer those in as soon as they're available.
Okay. Thanks, Phil. Yeah.
All right. Happy with that. Did I say anything wrong, Phoebe, in that? I think that sprint covered.
No, absolutely. So what it comes with the one price is the mocks and the exam voucher. So you covered everything. Yeah, absolutely. It's proving to be quite a popular sprint course, actually. We currently, it's a bit of a funny one because it's an actual course, we don't want to have too many people on the delivery, so we've limited it to 25 people with the opportunity of opening more spots. But as it is the 4th of June, if you are interested, I would highly recommend getting on it as soon as possible, because there are limited spaces and we don't have any sort of idea of when the next one will be scheduled.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And are you, Phil? Are you the instructor on that program?
I'm not, unfortunately. I'm actually doing a Microsoft course myself that week, but I'm doing the Modern Desktop Associate course. So I'm doing a full week, in fact, of the MDAA, which is 2 exams in 6 days, effectively. So I am training, but unfortunately not that one.
All right, no problem. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, it's 10:02. Have you guys got any more questions at all, or?
Just one last one. I always have a last question. I can't stop myself. What was the name of the level 3 apprenticeship? I can't find it.
Level 3 cybersecurity technician.
Technician. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Me and I'm sitting here and like, what was the name of a specialist? No, he's not specialist. Okay, technician. That's great.
Let me, we have them both on the site, so I'm just gonna pop the links up for you to have a look. All the information is there. Obviously, Phil has gone into
detail. Yeah.
Into detail, but you can always contact us for more information, or if you have any further questions, and you can also contact myself at sprint@firebrandtraining.com, and I will get you in touch with the appropriate people.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, it's literally so I can show people in here in the hospital what it is and how it looks like, and so we can maybe do some matching. So yeah, I've got it on the Institute of Apprenticeships, and yeah, if there's any additional material, I'll be more than happy to take that as well.
Would you both like a recording of this webinar?
Oh yeah, that would be very useful.
Okay, I'll send that through as well.
It'll
take a day or so to convert, so you'll probably hear from me tomorrow.
It's fine. It's fine. If I can play this video to someone and not talk, that'd probably be better for them. Great.
And keep in touch with me, but Joseph and Lukasz, keep in touch. Find me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. And Lukasz, I know you have.
Yeah.
And Joseph, anything at all that I can help you with, whether it's to do with apprenticeships or Microsoft or anything security related, if you want it from the horse's mouth, especially if you're looking at sort of the development of a team and things like that, I'm very much on board with that and can give you any kind of assistance through that process as well. So just be my friend and keep in touch.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, well, I think we'll end it there then. So thank you guys for joining. It's quite nice that it was just the two of you. Actually, it'd be more interactive that way. Thank you, Phil, so
My
much
pleasure.
once again, delivering another brilliant sprint. And yeah, for both of you, get in touch with us if you have any more questions at all. And obviously, Phil is lovely. Like he will give you any answer you want as well. So, Phil, I'm gonna call you straight after this, and then yeah, wishes for a lovely. I guess it's Thursday, so rest of your week. Good weekend.
Yeah, nearly there.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hear from you soon.
Yep.
Take care.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.